So I got that concept from archery because I was going back, my back was going further and sometimes it was shorter. So I put those concepts from what you said and got an anchor point, and it's always the same. And then I got more accurate quicker, right?
Right.
And then the problem I was having though, Roy, is that my release point was different every time,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So interesting part is that archery and darts are very similar because you can have anywhere from 12-gram darts to 48-gram darts. And according to the PDC, the Professional Darts Corporation, there's really no limit to the weight or the length of the dart, right? Because some guys have them short, some have, intermediate, medium, and some long. Um, but as the concept says, if I'm throwing consistently below the bullseye and I'm shooting 22 grams, let's try to 21 grams. And if you're still consistently low at 21 grams, go to 20 grams until you hit where you want to be. So, I mean, I don't know, so I put a lot of my dart stuff. I use a lot of archery thought. Does that make sense? Because I shot archery for a long time, off and on for about 20 years, that I use the same thought process in archery as I do in art, and I use it in my darts, right? To make sure I get it where I want it to be. So I'm very grateful for archery because it brought a lot to me. It brought a lot of friends, um, and it brought darts into my life. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, meet people like you, meet random people when you go to tournaments, especially in ASA. I shot a couple ASA tournaments, and I'm telling you, for me, ASA is a whole lot tougher than most people think. Right? You say, oh, there's a foam target, 40 yards down, yeah, I can hit it. But can you hit it where you're supposed to, right? And
Right.
you're upper 12, lower 12, right? And then if you make the shoot offs, I mean, can you hit that 14 ring? I'm like, well, hell no, probably not. I mean, like I have bad eyesight anyway that I use contacts. So it's just very challenging. Same thing with um, uh, field, right? Field, you have unknown and then known. I'm not very good at judging distance, Roy. I'll tell you right now. You ask me how far is that? I'll say 20 yards, and you're like 20 yards. That's like 60 yards. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry about that. I mean, I'm sure I could. The like if I had more time, spend a lot of time out there judging distance. Eventually, I could get decent. I probably would never get really good at it, but I mean, it's just a challenge. I mean, everything about archery, depending on the discipline, is very challenging, and that's what I love, right? I don't like to be monotonous and boring. Well, you need to challenge yourself.
Well, and one of the things to do to help on learning yardage is go out, mark out your 20 yards. So you have a starting marker and 20-yard marker. And then stand with both feet together. And
Mhm.
then each
Facing
time,
the target or the
yeah, face
sideways like you're going to shoot.
no, face it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to step off to that target counting your steps.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's going to be because you're going to start walk with your left foot, right?
Yes, sir.
We always do.
Mm-hmm.
Those in the military always start with the left foot. So you're going
Yeah.
to start left foot, right foot, one, left foot, right foot, two, three. Every time the right foot hits the ground, you're going to count one
Okay.
and count how many steps it is. Now, for me, it's 11 and a half steps because, when I get my 11th right foot, the left one is on the 20-yard marker. And
Okay.
then walk it off again, walk it off again, keep walking it until you get a consistent number. Now I know for me, 11 and a half steps is 20 yards. Every time I walk it off, it's 11 and a half steps. So now you can step off and you know what 20 yards is. And now you can learn what that distance is. Now go another 10 yards. In my case, you're going to take half of that. So it's almost six more steps. So about 5 3/4 steps. So then you're going to, okay, there's 15 and now you got your 20. So now here's 20, here's 40. And then now you can look at that and say, okay, that's 20 and that's 20. And then look at something else that you haven't seen. Okay, that looks like the same distance as that. Step that off. Well, maybe you're 11. So you're off by, half a step, 2 3 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how big your stride is. The taller you are, the less strides you're going to have, the shorter your legs, the more steps you're going to have. And I learned that technique in counting distance when I was in college, took a backpacking orientation thing, and they said, don't count every step. That's too many numbers. I'm going to count to 23, and you're not going to be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of being 1, 2, 3. It's much easier to remember where you're at if you're counting every other step, and your numbers don't get so high.